Hi guys, Wendy here, the Crafty Coach. Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a great New Year and Christmas. It's been a while since I've been online or in front of the camera. Lots going on. I've made some changes and I will be making a video after this one once it's confirmed with the changes. But every year I pick a word that's going to be my word of the year. I also do a word of the day, but this year, because I've been painting, I did a little painting. And my year for this year is empower. And so I just did a little flower with my word on it. And so I started to paint some of the other words that I've had in previous years, but I haven't put the dates on them because I'm not sure I want to put dates on all of them. But in '07, love was my word. So I did a flower, the blue flower. And let's see. And last year, or on 2013, it was joy. That was my word. And I'm doing this with cheap watercolor paint, so the color shows up very weird on the screen. So this was also, how can I see, I also put a tattoo on my wrist for 2013. That was my birthday present to me, because I wanted to always remember that we're here to experience joy. And then 2014, dream was my word. And I made happy. And then I made bloom. And then one of my favorite ones is grateful. And I'm also a purple person, so it's kind of a purpley pink flower. And then I did one 2 nights ago, and this was trust. And I tried to experiment a little bit with this. Trust is that weird word. You either trust wholeheartedly or you have a hard time trusting. And I used a stamp in the background, kind of like a spilled paint, and then I did a gray colored background just to represent trust as that word that's hard for so many people. It's hard for me. It's one of the things I work on constantly. And I'm not sure if I like the gray background with all the other backgrounds being in the blue family. But that's representing how I feel about trust. And for me, self-trust is so important. You know, when you use your intuition will never steer you wrong. So I always have to remember that. Just when I trust myself, it's easier for me to trust others. It always begins with self. So you want a little demo? And look at this. This was my first drop cloth. I thought that turned out so, and that was just something I would throw away, but I like the colors on there. Take a Sharpie, and I just doodle some flowers. I don't trace anything, and I don't worry about how it's going to look. I just start doodling some flowers. And sometimes just the first doodle is very funky. And sometimes I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 odd number of petals. Sometimes I do even. It's just however I'm feeling in the moment. Put a little one there. And some of my flowers have stems on them and some don't. It's really whatever you want. Just doodle whatever feels right. So I usually start with the Sharpie just to give me a place to start. And I'm using one of these little water reservoir paint brushes. I came with a set of 3, and this is the fattest one, and this is the one that seems to be working the best for me. They have a small, medium, and large that came in the set. That's the medium one. And that's the tips are all kind of different sized. And I found the smaller one because these aren't the name brand, that they leaked all over the place, and then the reservoir got really dirty, and so I just squeeze it a little, get the water dripping, and decide what color. And maybe we'll do a pink. I'm feeling kind of pinky today, and I just swish, just get it really wet, and then I start, you know, damp or rubbing it off a little bit. And I wasn't really going for a watercolor effect. I had a critique that it looked like markers, and that's really what I was going for. I wasn't truly going for a watercolor look, because I wish I had markers that worked. Might have all dried out. But since I've been practicing more and experimenting, I understand a little bit more how watercolor paints operate. Not that I'm an expert, but I do like the darker look. And each person has to decide what they really like and don't like. And since I'm not using these watercolor paints as they're meant to be used, I am making them as dark as I would like. Because I really wish I had colored markers. And so I just go in here and just color inside. And I do have the color outside the lines, and in the past that would really freak me out that, you know, I'm painting outside the lines. But as I've gotten older, it really doesn't bother me. It's all about just having fun and just making something pretty. And this was paper I cut up. It was a 12 by 12 piece of paper. It was a multimedia paper, and I cut them into 4 by 4. And for some reason I'm really liking this size 4 by 4, and I have a feeling I'm not ever going to be able to find a frame to put these in. I thought it'd be cool if I can sell them in my Etsy store. So I did the petals, and then I just take a napkin and just kind of squeeze it until the tip runs clear as much as it can. And then I just pick a leaf color, and you just continue to keep coloring in. And I do add different colors. I'm just going quickly to show you how I'm making this. Okay. And then I pick a color for the inside. And let's be bold and let's do an orange. This is going to be a happy flower. Okay. So we have that. And then I always do the background. Let's see, did I do the background? Yes, I do the background before I do any of the outlining embellishments. And I just pick a color, you know, a little blue. And some of the color that has bled on the outside of your line, you'll be able to pick that color up and add it to the background. And there's a big piece. Seeing that just bled right there. That's now purple right there. That just got a big water drop. These aren't the best water pens because they drip, but they were cheap and I wanted to try them, so it's all right. And then you can fix it up as best you can. Just you can take the paint off with a little towel. And I try to make it look so it doesn't look like there's harsh lines. Because I do like the back looking a little watercolory. And I tend to clean up the excess water with the towel. And then if the other colors bleed into the background, I just kind of swish it around so it looks as natural as possible, as if I intended it that way. Most people probably won't know that you didn't intend that little bleed over section. They'll just see the pretty flower and they'll enjoy it. Okay. Okay, so I did the background, and this isn't the best I could do. And I do take a heat gun and dry it off for a little bit. Okay, then once that is dry, I take my Sharpie, and this is where I go around all my outlines so it looks like if there's a mistake that I intended it that way. And I just do this a couple times around each petal. And I do go on the outside of my original line. So then you've got some negative space in there, and that's where I put my little doodles. Or any kind of embellishment you'd like that adds a little bit of highlights. And if I had more time, I would go in here and add a few more embellishments or highlights. I would go back in with just the plain water and squish it on the petal so that it shows some lightness. Okay, so I've quickly gone around, and this leaf over here, I did a lot of bigger outlining, and later I would go in there and add some more color so it's not so obvious. But for the demonstration, I won't do that. I think you'll get the idea. And here I just make little see those little like hash marks right there. I just add like little embellishments. Gives it some dimension. And then I take a white gel pen and we'll add some highlights. And I just do this really quickly. I'm not trying to be perfect. And then I do a little bit of scribbles. And then I like to add 3 little dots, doodle dots. Just gives it some texture. Sometimes the gel pen gets clogged up. Gotta wipe it clean. And so there's my little doodles. And then I take, this is kind of like a medium-sized stamp pad by Hampton Arts. And I just take some archival ink and stamp out a word. And I think this one I want to be believe. And I always have to look to make sure I'm spelling it correctly, because I always mix up the E and the I. Okay. Okay, and then there's believe, and I hope I spelled it right. And then I do